Charlie's definitely.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on. As the big man there just said, people deluded, I'm back again. As we're gearing up to the Euros, in which we will be doing watch-alongs, people. So make sure, in relation to my channel, your notification bells are on. I think I have to get back into full swing of providing live shows. So I thought, you know what? I've done the condensed transfer news video. There's obviously been some emerging rumours and things. As I always say, 99.9% of them are BS. But I thought, why not go live again and go through it with you guys? Again, smash the like button, get the creative juices flowing, and make sure you're subscribing if you haven't. And God bless everybody tuned in across Twitch and obviously YouTube, man. I'm there, S, man. I hope you're doing well and safe, man. You're always here. You're part of the furniture. I could always count on you. Your support is always valued. So rather than waste you lot's time, let me make sure I got everything. Okay, we'll start from. Okay, and this is why live streams. Okay, I was gonna share my screen with you lot, but it's frozen now. Okay, we're back. So let's, this is where the anxiety starts to creep in. There we go. Let's share my screen with you guys. And let's begin to go over stuff. Now, again, people, where Ryan Mikado is concerned, I'm just waiting on a thumbnail. I've kind of gone over him and whatnot. So you'll get a video knowing all about the footballer in due course, people. As I said, I'm just waiting for a thumbnail. But apparently, you know, the secret scouts of this world, the Fabrizio Romanos of this world, they're all saying that Arsenal could potentially, and on the verge of actually signing a very talented young player in Chelsea's academy. You know, he can play up front, can play in the 10, can play on the flanks, got a wonder of a left foot. In many ways, you know, no two players are the same, but he's the best way to describe him. He's quite similar, in my opinion, to young Ethan. And as I said, he could play up front. We have heard that, you know, Arsenal Football Club were trying to aggressively recruit the best talent and simply put, have a competitive and a strong under 18s and 21 side, which I would love to see. And you lot have seen several rumours as well, primarily where Ireland's concerned and Scotland. Arsenal always linked with these kind of young players, people. So yeah, I would like to see that. Of course, I dream of the impossible dream. I always say it, where I look at Arsenal's first team one day and we've got 11 academy graduates. That's never going to happen, but that's what I want to get to. And personally, I think we need to kind of, in a way, behave or get into a scenario where we're like Chelsea and Manchester City, in a sense of whether those players make it or not. You know, Chelsea, they churn out players in all positions. Let's be brutally honest. You know, while you know, there's been some players that have left Arsenal at some points in their careers and they're cutting out good careers elsewhere. You know, Josh De Silva, Nathan Teller, and, you know, Eze even going back. We need it, in my opinion, if you're a winger or you're a central midfielder or a 10, you kind of have more of a chance of coming through at Arsenal. Where you look at City and Chelsea, doesn't really matter if you're a goalie. They're about to sell Trafford to Newcastle or somewhere for decent money. And that's where we want to get to. And of course, as I said, you want all of these players that are in the academy to get opportunities to come through the system. And again, the impossible dream. But, you know, while we have a lot of money, we're not backed by an oil state, or we're not backed by billionaire Americans. In fact, that's cap because KSE is. But we don't do what Chelsea and City are doing. So the academy or the pipeline, you know, this could be a source of income for us. You know, I like Mika Beref, and, you know, I can't lie. Some of the comments I've seen on my YouTube channel said Mika Beref is better than Sesko, which is absolute nonsense, if I'm honest, and Zirkzee. But, you know, if they can't progress in the first team and you can make a couple million quid off them, or, you know, Balogun went for what, 30, 40 odd million pounds, that can be put back into the kitty and we keep it moving. And I know it's probably not what people want to hear, but in theory, if Smith Rowe goes, Nketiah goes, Reece Nelson goes, you know, 30 million at least for all of these players, allegedly, where Nelson's concerned, that's reported. I think people be not crazy to spend that on Reece Nelson, because I think he's a quality player and will show his ability elsewhere. But if you was buying Reece Nelson, I'm probably not I'm gonna try and get that done for 10 to 15, if I'm honest. So it'd be a step in the right direction. Moving away from that, as you'd imagine, with the Sesko rumours dying, all the other strikers that Arsenal have been mentioned, you know, the Zirkzees, the Gyökeres, the Osimhens, this is now what's being reported, people. Allegedly, Arsenal make initial contact with agent of Victor Osimhen. Arsenal has become the latest team to be linked with a summer move for the Nigerian striker Victor Osimhen. The 25-year-old has made it clear that he wishes to leave Napoli with the Premier League a possible destination. We've heard that before. We're yet to see anything new here. The player has a release clause of 160 million euros. So we've seen everything from 100 to 110 to 120 all the way to 160, as you see there. You know, if you're going to spend, I don't think it'd be 160 pounds, but if you're going to spend 100 odd million quid on him, and he's probably going to be on like 250k a week, 300 grand a week, obviously that to a degree has ramifications for Arsenal's wage structure, and the true cost of that might simply be out of our budget. Good to see us going for youngsters from other clubs instead snatching youngsters from us. Feels like it's been a while since we've been raiding other academies. Osimhen likely going Saudi, sadly, but no big club is spending big money. I think on one hand, I think it's a game of poker. I think it's very early in the market. People are waiting for dominoes to fall. Obviously, Napoli are kind of taking the hard line approach. We want top money. The man's under an immense, you know, he's on a big contract. Arsenal, Chelsea, PSG, they've got the money. The others more than us to spend it, but they probably want to see how things play out. I personally think he's been priced out of a move, if I'm honest with you. Now that I said that, he'll probably rock up in the Prem, but I just don't think, I think the ability's there, the quality's there. You know, Arsenal previously spoke with his agent, so there has to be something very likable about the lad. I just don't think we're forthcoming with that. And, you know, you have heard that Arsenal would like a striker, and it is somewhat of a priority, but at the same time, Arsenal don't feel they're going to die if they don't sign a striker owing to Kai Havertz's form, whether I necessarily think that's the right case to go down. Even with Zirkzee, the agent wants a 15 million commission. I mean, to be fair, I'd want the same. And Kai Jarupkin, I'm sure he's comfortable with a lot of clubs, but he seems like he's got a decent relationship with Arsenal and they do, so maybe he allows it. Obviously, you know, Osimhen's sale could obviously fund a lot of things that Conte, the new manager at Napoli, would like to do. Again, after the tremendous season where they won the Scudetto, it was never going to quite be the same. You know, where you look at Osimhen, I do think his injury record's a bit exaggerated, but he does have a lot of injuries. Apparently, Chelsea reported to be keen on signing the Nigerian superstar, but recent interest from Saudi Arabia, where Osimhen is understood to have received an offer in excess of 40 million a season, seems to have called the Stamford Bridge club's interest. Apparently, you know, Arsenal, the Premier League runners-up from last season, have contacted his agent to explore the possibility of a summer switch to the Emirates Stadium. I mean, I don't doubt that. We probably have had indirect conversations and probably said, you know what, forget about it, if I'm honest with you. I think the headline and actually what's going on in the footballing world are two different things. Once again, Romano has spoken on Arsenal's proposal for Ryan Mikado, born in 2008. That's crazy. I was in year 8. He's expected to leave Chelsea this summer. Best project proposals so far came from Arsenal, and he has represented England at under 16s and 17s. Now, apparently City and Liverpool were sniffing around and could still be sniffing around him, people. So, yeah, allegedly we're pushing for his signature, which would be the step in the right direction. Again, we've gone over the Sesko stuff, people. Arsenal have apparently built a strong relationship with Sesko's camp over several years, so theoretically, they'd be well positioned to reignite their interest next summer. There's an acceptance, however, that the landscape could shift dramatically in the next year, especially if he keeps scoring goals and his release clause is removed, really. And again, at 55 million, 21 years of age, us needing a striker, I think there was a degree of interest, but it's a market opportunity. And I mean, you never know. A year from now, things could happen, really. But and if we really have a good relationship with his people, but I just think he's one that I don't think it's going to happen at the Emirates anymore. Would have liked us to sign Osimhen, considering Napoli want to replace him with Gyökeres, would save us from 2 of our targets being knocked down and option shortening. I mean, our option shortening, though, because there is a bunch of strikers you could get and probably some that we don't know of. You know, again, I'm not saying I want these guys or not, but Sesko is done. He signed a new contract. We can forget about that. Osimhen, I guess you could say he's a target, but it seems like he's overpriced. We were aggressively linked with Ivan Toney in January, a bit like Sesko in last recent weeks, but we've now heard that that was wide from the case. Obviously, Joshua Zirkzee seems like he could be going AC Milan. There probably is some, man. Raw, where's my Twitch family at? Big up DJ every time, though. Big up yourself, Riley. I don't know, man. To be fair, haven't been live on a regular basis, man. Twitch gang forgot about the guy. But yeah, people, apparently moving on from that, with Benjamin Sesko off the table, it's not certain Arsenal will immediately pivot to an alternative 9. They have followed Gyökeres, but that interest appeared to cool as they focused on Sesko, while the club do not intend to pursue Joshua Zirkzee. So Joshua Zirkzee, maybe we're not as keen on him as reports suggest. Maybe he said he's got other plans to stay in Italy and maybe go to Juventus, who are still linked with him, or AC Milan. But I think similar to Sesko, similar to Sesko, I think Joshua Zirkzee would have been a good market opportunity. You know, he's 23, so he's still in the elementary stages of his career. I think all the other facets beyond scoring goals, he does that. I think it would have made sense. Gyökeres would love him at the carpet, but I think it's just overpriced. It's just not making sense with us. And I would love, you know, there's a couple of possibilities. In an ideal world, we sign a striker and we sign a winger. I'm prepared to have a reality where you bring in a striker and it is where our wingers are concerned, or you bring in no striker and you have a winger. Either way, I do think we cannot go into next season without an addition of one more attacker that can really bring something to the table. My regular supporters, I see you in the chat, so you know how big I am on signing a central midfielder. So I would say, regardless, ideally it would be, for me, 3 signings, innit? A winger, striker and a central midfielder as a minimum. I would say a central midfielder and another attacker, and it seems like left-back links won't go away where Arsenal's concerned. Big up DG. It's a shame with Sesko, but next target should be Gyökeres/Isak. Isak's another one, you know, he would probably be my first choice, really. He could link up again with Odegaard owing to their Sociedad days. You know, again, with the greatest of respect to Eddie Nketiah, you'd have to vacate that number 14, but it's going to cost a lot of money, really. And again, I do think we have to look for value. I do think we can't overspend, but I do think to a degree where those curtain raises in certain positions are, in the same way we signed Declan Rice for 100 odd million, we might be in that realm where we might just have to pay the money. Daily Solanke with a here we go, please, Fab. Now midfield has to be sorted, defender too, but looping link is a myth. You're a madman, Ben. But Solanke 65 million, that's crazy. Big up Frimmy, man. My guy starting up them rumours. Hey, I'm just talking. Frimmy, we got nothing else to discuss, man. We all can't be like you playing at the Emirates. I'm upset with you, though. I can't. How didn't I get the invite to kick ball at the Emirates? Me. I was on Twitch with you. I've been on the live show. Come on, what's going on, man? All I wanted was an Instagram highlight reel, you know, just to score a 2-2 goal at the Emirates. You've seen the intro, but he did me day. But big up for me, man. Like, we all can't have the day off. We're scrambling, isn't it? Like, as I always say, 98% of these things are BS. You know, I always think Edu and Mikel Arteta, they must be sitting there. You know, if I was them, they probably ain't got time for it. But if I was Edu, I would sit there and look at these transfer rumors, and you have to laugh. And you know, it's essentially guesswork. Obviously, some journalists are more credible than others. Some are going to add their own twist to it. Again, you have to get engagement and clicks. But I do think it's funny how, like, if we take the last week, for example, right? Every journalist, apart from Fabrizio Romano, and I would say David Ornstein, because David Ornstein kind of said, listen, Arsenal think he's going to sign a new deal. Everyone was saying Sesko's been presented the project. Arsenal's his first choice. The other clubs are moving away. Then obviously with him signing a new deal, we've now gone and seen, oh, you know what? Arsenal were happy over the weekend to just let the rumours fly. The reports of him signing for Arsenal are wider than what? Hey, Frimmy, you must give us an exclusive. Arteta or Saka or Rice. They must have told you something. No, I'm joking. Big up my guy, man. Big up my guy. Make sure you're following him on his socials. I can't imagine you're not. But yeah, I would love a striker, man. You know, again, this it's not sad, but I do feel a lot easier with us with the striker thing, owing to Kai Havertz's form in 2024. But I just think the crazy thing is, where you look at our team, we know we're going to score goals. We've done it for the last 2 years. I think we got 91 in the Premier League, so it's safe to say over 100 odd in all comps, right? But you just don't know who's going to score the goals. You know, in the last 2 years, you know, a couple of our players have had stronger goal scoring campaigns than the others. But I've always said it, apart from Saka, and listen, touch wood, pause, that it never happens. But Saka is probably due a dry spell on the goal scoring front. But Saka is probably the only one that, for me anyways, I could sit there and say, I'd genuinely be surprised if you don't get double figures in the league. We know Trossard. I know people don't want to hear it, but we know Trossard, Gabriel Jesus, Kai Havertz. You know, Declan Rice had his highest goal scoring season. With the set pieces, you will see a Saliba or Gabriel, and especially Gabriel. These lot will pop up with goals every now and again. Even Tommy last season. But who is going to get the goals? And football's a simple game, you know. Look, if I just say some random managers, Mikel Arteta, Eric Ten Hag, why has Ten Hag signed a new deal? It's all over, man. United are going to win the league. Ten Hag is bad news. But if I just say Mikel Arteta, Ten Hag, Pep Guardiola, Arsene Wenger, Arteta, you know, these are all different managers. They've all got different sorts of things that they want to do on a football pitch. You know, what one of those managers might think is the least important, one might think is the most important. But football's a simple game. Either way, you have to put balls in the back of the opponent's net, and you obviously have to defend yours. And I think the defense, or better yet, our whole defensive outlook is spot on. You know, we've got the fragments of our team are wavy. What Arteta is doing is great, but if we want to, in my opinion, move now into Premier League titles and Champions League, which is a long way away as much as I love the club, we need answers, you know, and it's there's an element of the unknown. As Sadiq said, smash the like button if you haven't. I just don't think we can afford to miss out on a striker. We need that ruthless goal scoring in attack, and I don't think we can do that with a winger being the only addition forward wise. I hear it because as much as I actually feel myself, I think I'm a bit conflicted because I think it's essential we sign a striker, but then owing to what I've just said about the goals and the different options and all of that stuff, and we have to remember, you know, if goals were the most important in the Mikel Arteta team, then Kai Havertz probably wouldn't be playing up front, excluding his form, and Gabriel Jesus. You've got all that other stuff. But then I do look at the times, you know, and again, we could have had in what I'm about to say, we could have had a striker in the same reality could have happened, people. But, you know, you look at the couple of defeats we could have turned into draws or draws into victories. If we had a cold-hearted killer, like owing back to that December, that could just put the ball in the back of the net, where would we be? You know, I personally think we would have, you know, Frimmy would have been doing the content in the trophy parade, would have been doing whatever. And I think we need a striker. Like, look, we're going against City. Like, they can score 100 goals without Haaland, and then you've got Haaland. It's crazy. Laka versus Aubameyang. But hey, I would love a striker, but I would say for me, the most important thing is central midfield, and they're all of equal importance. But if you brought me a striker and a winger and no central midfielder, I'd be like, oh, what's going on there? I love what Jorginho does. I personally think Mikel Arteta has probably overplayed him last season or had to rely on him a bit more. We know Thomas Partey is a quality player, but there's a lot of baggage in that regards. Big fan of Smith Rowe and Fabio Vieira. Haven't locked down that left-sided centre mid row. There's a big hole. We haven't filled the void that Granit Xhaka left, really. And I think if you lock that down, you see a better Martinelli. And as good as we were last season, I do think if Timber and Partey were fit for the majority of the season, for as good as we was, how would we have looked? And I think those are the two positions that there's unanswered questions. I say unanswered at left back. I'm exaggerating a bit because, you know, we've got some versatile options there. But all the reports, and again, reports on what Arteta and Co intend to do are different things. But, you know, the Fabrizios, the David Ornsteins and everyone else, they keep saying Mikel Arteta would like a left back. So we'll have to see, really, if I'm honest, in that regards. But apparently Arsenal expected to shift to strengthening their midfield. The club need a player to complement Declan Rice and are also open to adding a more attack-minded midfield player. Although in a different market, it's not yet clear who their primary targets would be. Now, one thing I've liked about Arsenal, I don't think you can keep things under wraps, but the Sesko saga and other sagas have shown people just don't know what Arteta or Arsenal intend to do. I think they've got several targets, and I do think you have to be fluid. You know, I do think there was an element of wanting to bring Sesko, but he signed a new deal. Hato signed a new deal. So you have to find other ones. In midfield, I don't know, man. You know, 1 minute Zubimendi's on it, then he's not. Douglas Luiz were on it, then we're not. Occasionally we're linked with, you know, Frankie de Jong, who's going to miss out on the Euros. Coop Miners, who I'm a big fan of, who's also going to miss out on the Euros. Spare a thought for Holland or Netherlands in that regard. It's crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's Edu and Arteta. Listen, every move you see of every club now in the summer, they've been thinking about this for months. So yeah, I wouldn't read too much into it. We scored lots of goals. Mid and wing are more important. Big up yourself, coach. Who's your Euros pick? I mean, pick for the Euros. It's coming home, mate. Saka scoring in the final. You know what I mean, geezer? But if I had to put money, you can't look beyond the French, can you? You know, you can't look beyond the French. Dark horses. Who would I say is dark horse? You know what? Maybe Holland, just off the basis of the fact that there's bare injuries, they might do a thing. Big up, DG. Would you rather a superstar forward or a superstar midfielder? That's a good question, man. There's pros and cons. Let me sip my coffee quickly. Good question, man. Big up yourself. Good question. Because goals win games. And again, superstar for me, again, would be Haaland and people like that. Easier said than done, but someone that's going to bring a crazy amount of goals. Goals win games. You know, we've had Henry, we've had Aubameyang, Alexis went up there. It does hit different, really, when you've got that striker that can get you out of jail sometimes. So I'm going to lean towards that, but central midfield, you know, if we could find that blockbuster central midfielder, I would like an 8 and a 6, but this summer I'd more like an 8. You know, I know Declan Rice has flirted with playing in that 8 role, but if you could find that Xhaka replacement, you've got what Declan Rice has been and what he's becoming under Mikel Arteta, and you've got Martin Wondergaard there, bro. Like, obviously, even well, to be fair, even now, like, you're in the conversation for best midfield in the Premier League. Obviously, City are City, no one could talk to them. But beyond that, Camavinga or Vinicius. Bro, you're asking the little questions, Shanance, but hey, Camavinga's French, wavy. I gotta say Vinicius, in it, really, off the basis of superstar, in it, like he's a superstar. Where you look at the Champions League again, we're obviously a long way away from really competing in the champs, but I did feel against Bayern Munich, I did feel regardless we could have done a bit better over the 2 legs, but superstar potential can get you out of things. We're not Real Madrid, but Real Madrid, they end up winning the game. They're not necessarily, even in the final, like the other day, they're not necessarily the best team across 90 minutes, but they know when Carlo does that, and the players start, you know, awakening their powers, things happen. And sometimes you just need a magic man that can get moments. You know, big up Martinelli, you'd still be about. But, you know, imagine Vinicius Jr. and Saka on either flank. Fullbacks are crapping their pants before they even get onto the pitch, really and truly. Facts, I'm liking the fact we can't tell who's signing and isn't signing. You can't write off anyone joining us, nor can you write off anybody leaving. Would make Isak/Osimhen signing hit different. I hear it, man. I would love Isak, but listen, I want to be wrong, but I just can't see the Isak thing happening. There's too much that would need to happen. Arsenal would have to spend the bag. Isak would probably have to force that move. You know, our accountants would probably have to find money, probably be a bit reliant on outgoings as well. Why do most fans make excuses for Martinelli? Don't think his technical level is good enough for the role he has in the team. That's harsh, man. Big up Martinelli, man. I do think people make excuses. In life, you have to take accountability. You know, Martinelli, after the season before the one that's just gone, he was amazing, lost his way. I don't know what he needs to do, but there's things he needs to hold himself accountable. But I do think that, you know, Granit Xhaka's departure and the indifferences at left back have contributed. But that's why Saka's here, Martinelli's there. He ain't crossed into that. He's obviously, you know, him and Saliba are very different. But there was times Arsenal fans were saying, oh, they ain't going to have a future here. Martinelli has become one of the first names on the team sheet. I do spare a thought for Trossard because throughout the course of the season, he's probably been due more first-team football. But there's a reason where you look back in December where things were going wrong for us and, you know, nothing was happening. There's a reason the same players are playing. Now, that could be defined as insanity, but as a manager, essentially, you're a human being. You're creatures of habit. You're gonna play the players that you ultimately trust or you think are the better options. Gyökeres and Zirkzee are perfect alternatives for Arsenal. Would love either one, man. Martinelli suffers from left side weakness, needs Timber or Alphonso Davies. Davies, would be lit, but we're dream chasing. Bring Diaz to the club. Maybe he won't get much game time at Madrid next season. I hear it, and I would love him, and I'm sure him and Mikel Arteta cross paths at Manchester City, but it's Real Madrid. Like, God knows how many. I know he's played a role, but hasn't played a main role like that. But God knows how many Champions Leagues he has. Like, there's no way. That's the holy grail, really and truly, man. There's no other way, man. DG potential FC24 video coming up. We're probably looking at that towards the end of the summer, if I'm honest. Engine room competing with Rodri, Kevin De Bruyne, Bernardo, Modric, Tchouaméni, Valverde. We need Gomares. Bro, Bruno Gomares, another one, but like, I keep saying it, but I would love us to sign Isak, Gomares, all these guys, but it's going to cost big cha-ching. And to be honest, if they want to go out and get them, great. But for me, if you can find a player for 10 million quid that brings something to the table, or 100, I'm here for it. What I would say is, Mikel Arteta, please, come the end of, I say the end of the window because we don't know what's going on. I need to see a central midfielder. This has to be the last season that I mentioned we need a central midfielder, if I'm honest with you. If it was, I think you mean big up yourself, Carl. If it was my choice, I'd raid Palace and take Elise and Eze and then push for Sesko. I think the Sesko thing, bro, we got to just hold that up for another year. It's gone. Would love Elise, but they're talking 60, 70. I think he's a great player, and I do think Arteta must like him, but I don't think he's the specific kind of profile Arteta is looking for. For Elise, it seems like he's going to Chelsea, really, if reports are right. But Elise would be lovely, be a player fans would fall in love with, essentially. But he can play in a lot of roles, including on the left. He probably prefers to play on the right. I think if you ask Elise, he'd probably prefer a free role in the 10, but he'd probably primarily play on the right. And you've obviously got Saka. Now, there once was a time Saka played on the left and his versatility and whatnot. But yeah, I can't lie, bro. I ain't trying to see Zirkzee. Something just seems off about that one. I just think with Zirkzee, And you've got to cut strikers a bit of slack, really, because they do tend to get into their own around 25, 26 years of age, which, again, he's 23, so he's getting to that. I think Zirkzee would fit what Arteta wants because he's got height. He does drop deep into that 10 role, do that kind of Lacazette stuff. When you look at his pressing metrics, they're quite good. He was someone that would probably rotate in and out with Kai Havertz and wouldn't necessarily threaten the game time of Kai, but the goals in it, ultimately, I do want a striker or an attacking player that can do all the things Arteta wants, but they bring goals. And at this moment in time, what I think Zirkzee got like 12 goals. Respectfully to Serie A, it's not quite what it used to be. How many players do you see that look like damaged goods or they're past it? They go Serie A and they score goals for fun. He did have some injuries, and to be fair, he did help his team in his own way, help Bologna qualify for the Champions League. But I wasn't always convinced on him as the full package, but I wouldn't be against it, man. I actually genuinely wouldn't. It wouldn't be my first choice, but I wouldn't be against it. And I think you have to consider, rightly or wrongly, one thing I've liked about Arsenal is in previous years, even the elementary stage with Arteta and previously Wenger, we're signing players that could have been defined as stopgaps, or just signing players, in my opinion, for the sake of it. Respectfully, Marie, Cedric, Willian, these things didn't work. Now, rightly or wrongly, we saw it in January where we didn't sign Ivan Toney. Obviously, what, 2 years ago? Either, I don't know, but the season, that we missed out on top 4 to Spurs, and we needed a centre midfielder and we didn't sign one. I still think we should have signed one, but I do like that. If you can't, don't just spend money for no reason, really. But let's see what's going on. I do think Jackson of Chelsea could be a good forward, but forget about it, mate. Havertz, Vinicius, Saka, tell me that attack would not scare you, especially the current Kai Havertz we find. And it's a matter of time before Vlahovic links resurface. It's like trying to chat to a lady. She didn't want to give you any time of day. You're not going to, well, most people are not going to go back to try and break contact, or anyone that's got self-respect. So look, you have to let bygones be bygones, but I don't really buy anything that links us with Vlahovic. But Alex Crook of TalkSport has said, on our failed pursuit of Sesko, names mentioned to me earlier today in terms of alternatives, the likes of Osimhen and Vlahovic as well, but they flirted with him before and he didn't really give them the time of day, so I can't really see that one. And again, everybody's saying the same names. He said names floated to him. Who floated those names to him? He could be talking just like us, really, and just saying names. Who floated that to you? Again, every journalist can get things right and wrong, but I guess under Arteta, and I am in no position to say who knows what they're talking about or doesn't know what they're talking about. The vast majority of the ITK accounts don't really know what they're on about, but there are a couple that seem to have a good track record. I do think someone like John Cross, who previously had a terrible record, but since Arteta's come in, he seems to be pretty accurate with Arsenal news. Romano does his thing. It's Fabrizio Romano, and David Ornstein and The Athletic. Clearly, there must be some decent relationship. I wouldn't be against Ivan Toney, but I just don't think the club are on it. And if I'm honest with you, I think, if you look at Arsenal, Spurs have been linked with a striker. Not that, for the example I'm about to say, they're not in the conversation. They take what they can get. But, where you look at Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, Tony has made it clear. How much interviews did you see him do? I want to leave. I want to do this. I want to do that. I think all the clubs have said, you know what, we'll explore, for the example, Sesko, Osimhen, Vlahovic, Zirkzee, Isak, this guy, that guy. And then obviously he could move, but if these things don't work and we're like, yeah, you know what, we need a striker, Ivan Toney's there. Like, Ivan Toney has not burnt his bridge, but he's been talking for months, not really so much recently, but he's been talking for months that he wants to cut. Thomas Frank has said they'll consider it. The chairman or whatever at Brentford a few months ago said it. So I think every club knows that, okay, let's explore other things, and then Tony might still be there. Harry Kane, we're dreaming, but wouldn't take Vlahovic after we were going to offer up to 100 million and he wouldn't even consider. I hear that, if I'm honest with you, but at the same time, we have to let bygones be bygones. And if Arteta, things can change, but if Arteta previously wanted Vlahovic, there must be some sort of use for him. Take what we get. This is why you pop City's sloppy seconds only to try to sell them 2 seasons later. Riley, you're my guy. Please don't make me get Spurs. Don't think I didn't see you lot cancel Ndombele's contract. He's going straight to Brown Eagle on Tottenham High Road. Allow it. Spurs, your recruitment. You can say what we want. I'd rather take City's rejects than what you got. 50 on Richarlison, 50 on Brennan Johnson. Højbjerg is in your midfield. Boy, you haven't had too many hits, have you? He's actually been a good signing for Spuds. Romero, he's all right. Van der Ven, he's a good player. I know Saliba ain't been made to break dance and whatnot. I know that much. Boy, you lot need to deal with. You need to deal with what you lot need to deal with. You stay out of the big people conversation. See, when you're younger and your uncle, your mom, or your dad, or whatever they're talking about family business in the room, and you have to come out. That is what Spurs need to do right now. I'll accept all the banter from Manchester United, Manchester City, Liverpool, Chelsea. They've done it. You've never done it, mate. But yeah, man, Ivan Toney, I wouldn't be against it. Spurs only got 4 players in the Euros. To be fair with you, England might have a chance. There's no Spurs players again. Nico Williams, 17 assists, 45 million release clause. We can be smart. But apparently Arsenal have an admiration for him based on reports. But then when you read into it, apparently we've got issues over his wages. Apparently he's on 200k a week. Now, I don't care what he gets paid. It's nothing to do with me. Shout out to him. But is he worth 200 bags a week? Or will it be more than that? You know, it'd probably be like 250, maybe even more. If naturally, if you're changing jobs, you're going to want more money. Now, I don't care what he wants, but you get it. Riley, fix up, man. Ibrahimovic turned us down at academy level, but in 2017, when United were the club to bring him over to the Prem, I would have thrown a budget at him. Vlahovic is 30. I could justify going back for him. What happened to Matoma? People are reading his university degrees on how wingers should play, really. It seems like the Matoma links to Arsenal have gone dead as well. We've gone over that. I'm excited to see this young player at Arsenal in it. There's hella links. Arsenal have inquired about Rennes midfielder Destiny Doue and are strongly interested in the player, along with Chelsea and Bayern Leverkusen. Chelsea are trying to find an agreement with Rennes. However, the player is not seduced by joining them, bro. Arsenal, Wenger, wherever you are, call him, speak French. Saliba, chat to him. Henri, Perez, Petit, anybody, talk to him. You're the guy for us. You're the guy. I think he would be like icing on top of the cake, really. I think he's a young player I genuinely think he's going to be world class one day. You know, he's not Paul Pogba, but he's Paul Pogba-esque in the sense of I think he will play in a bit of a deeper midfield role. But I think Arsenal more are likely to sign a more experienced centre mid. Obviously, we've been going about striker. It appears left back is of priority. But if we got all of that and there's money to spare, well, this guy in 2-3 years is going to be lit. I'll be serious with you. I've done a video on him as well. Shameless, but take that in. Eddie and Nelson wages. True. And I know Nico Williams is a good player, but it comes down to, simply put, do Arsenal reckon he's worth activating the 45 million release clause and giving him that money? It's not as easy as that, as you know, coach. Big up Deluded. We need to concern on the centre mid and winger. If our first target centre striker crushes, let's get things done. Big up the Ethiopians. You said it there. There's not much I could say, man. I can't lie, DG sold me with the Fofana shouts. If we're going for any French midfielder, I'd push for him. Allegedly, and again, what's reported and what's actually going down are very different things. But if they're saying 20 million, I don't know for wages, but if they're saying 20 million euros, he's got a year left. Arsenal allegedly have indirectly spoke with his agents. For me, get that done. Box-to-box midfield. Him and Declan Rice, forget about it. You've got a geezer in the midfield. You've got Mandem in the midfield. You've got Odegaard doing the pretty boy stuff. Forget about it. You know, you could maybe get away. Well, Jorginho and Partey, maybe both. Probably just Jorginho for one more year. You sign one midfielder next summer. We're sorted. We're sorted. It's easier said than done, but you get the point. Big up James, as the man said, hit the like button. And Fofana, if it's up to me, get it done, bro. Like, get it done tomorrow, man. The Rennes president has been speaking about Destiny Doue, and as you can see, we just saw Chelsea and Leverkusen. Boy, Leverkusen could be a great angle for him as well, you know, and they're probably going to lose Wirtz next season. He could be tying into that. Jabi Alonso's doing lit things. PSG, boy, you're going to win something there. United, historical big club. Arsenal, in many ways, envy of the world with our project. But long story short, the 18-year-olds are man in high demand, and I'm not too sure what's going to go on. But apparently the Rennes president has said, we know that since he was young, he has been followed by the biggest European clubs. That won't change this summer. We'll see, depending on the offers, whether he leaves. So that's what is the Rennes gaffer saying, well, president saying there. We're not forcing him out the door, but money talks. Make it happen if that's what you want to do. As we know, the Rennes Academy is lit. Like, we need to get a wavy French player. Like, we were the pioneers for French football. I know the dynamic and the landscape has changed, but for me to see, I'm being harsh, but to see Kylian Mbappe, Kante, you know, Osimhen Dembele, to see all of these wavy French players of the current day and not have any of them, pick up Saliba, Arting is 30, but you get the point. We need to grab one of these guys, man. We need to. I've covered this in the last transfer news video that came out, the more condensed one, people. But the crucial part of this for you lot is Arsenal have a stable squad with several existing options in central forward position. So there's no sense of panic with Sesko off the table. It's not certain they'll immediately pivot to an alternative 9. Arsenal had followed Gyökeres of Sporting, but that interest appeared to cool as they focus on Sesko. Joshua Zirkzee of Bologna has been linked, but Arsenal do not intend to pursue the 23-year-old Dutchman. It may be that Arsenal shift their focus to strengthening other areas of the squad. There you have it. And there is a cloud or some element of doubt over Gabriel Jesus and Nketiah, or more so Nketiah's future, people. So we'll have to see exactly what's going on. We're still apparently being linked with Zubimendi, but we see conflicting reports all the time. João Neves of Benfica is great, but boy, he's got 120 million euros release clause. Allegedly, Manchester United had an offer rejected of 60. So what do they want? And with the Euros, like half of these players, with the Euros, if you have a decent campaign, your price is going up. And to be fair with you, you know, if you're, I won't lie, I don't even know if Zubimendi's in the Spain squad, but I assume he is. Neves, Onana, you know, Sesko provided, you know, assuming he didn't sign that new deal, you know, several of these players, you know, I'm sure a lot of them would like their futures resolved before the Euros, but a lot of them might say, you know what, after the Euros we'll assess things. Or a lot of people might be indifferent and say, let me use this platform to drive up interest. How many times have we seen, you know, an international tournament, more so the World Cup, get people to move? Don't shoot me, but there's a certain Colombian number 10 that once upon a time was at Everton, if you lot can remember, was at Monaco, was at Real Madrid, a quality player, but I think he was massively overrated, and I think he only got that move because of what he did at that World Cup. So I won't say no names, people. Apparently, Arsenal have told 2 senior players they are free to leave this summer. Kyrgios will stay. Arsenal have now told senior players that they are surplus to Mikel Arteta's requirements going forward, but do want Kyrgios to stay. Now, Kyrgios is still being linked with multiple clubs in Italy. I think Kyrgios has to stay, and I might sound like a hypocrite, people, and let me know your thoughts, but I feel on one hand, we're all right at centre-half, you know. In theory, you've got Gabriel and Saliba. Praise the Lord that they were injured last season and hope that continues. Tomiyasu Timber can play there. Kyrgios can play there. Benjamin White, obviously, it's brighter days of him being a fullback, but he can move over there. So I think we're cool there at centre-half. But then again, in the reality, if we assume we don't sign anybody and, you know, Saliba and Gabriel and Benjamin White need a rest, or God forbid there's injuries that, you know, Saliba suspended or misses a game, so Benjamin White has to move over there, but Tommy's got an injury and Timber's not fit, we might need another defensive body. You know, that's where I don't believe when we're linked with Diomande, Deluded, and, you know, the more creme de la Gurhi, expensive defenders, but I do think there'll be a willingness to bring one in, essentially. And I don't think you can sanction Kyrgios going until you bring someone in. And I think Zinchenko, is Zinchenko more likely to leave? Because I think he's more likely to play ahead of Kyrgios, but he's got 2 years left on his deal. I'm not too sure. But yeah, people, apparently Zinchenko and Tierney are free to leave. Tierney's probably the one that they're aggressively trying to push out the door. I think Zinchenko is in the bracket with Kyrgios, to a degree, with Thomas Partey, with Smith Rowe, with Fabio Vieira, with a couple of those, get Jesus, a couple of those players in that. If offers arrive, we're going to listen, but we're not going to actively force you out the door in the same vein with the Lokongas and Tavares and people of that ilk. It all depends, because Arsenal might not want to sell Kyrgios, for example, but, you know, it doesn't seem like there's links are not the same as actual bids. But how many Arsenal players do you actually actively hear are linked with proper moves away? Kyrgios, since he signed for Arsenal, really and truly links back to Italy. He's been linked with Napoli, Juventus, Roma, hasn't gone away. Tierney, 1 minute is 10 million asking price, then it's 15, which is another conversation in itself, really and truly. Allegedly, and actually AC Milan adding to the Italian interest in Kyrgios. AC Milan are eager to sign Kyrgios. TBR understands that the defender would like the chance to move back to Italy. Arsenal are aware of Kyrgios' stance, but as it stands, they're more inclined to allow both Zinchenko and Tierney to leave. And it's a double-edged sword for Kyrgios. I think, you know, respectfully to Spezia, you have, well, Arsenal and Spezia is 2 different things, so levels. And I feel sorry for him because you're not getting ahead of Gabriel. You know, you did play centre defensive mid for a season at Spezia, but Arteta clearly not convinced on that. Left back, you've done okay, but you don't look comfortable to the point where you stop doing that inverted stuff. Arteta had to kind of find a quick fix, and you're always playing as a conventional one. That really can't persist. And I don't know. I only think truthfully, I slightly only think Kyrill's only ahead of Kieran Tierney in the pecking order. I think for whatever people say about Zinchenko, I think Zinchenko's more likely to play ahead of you. I definitely think Timber and Tommy are going to play ahead of you. There's rumours of bringing in a new left back, as we've seen. What does this mean? And again, there was a chance to rest players and things of that ilk. But yeah, it would be lovely to have a player like Nathan Ake in our squad, if I'm honest with you. But allegedly, Arsenal are aware of his stance, but we're more inclined to let the others leave. Thiago Motta, a former manager of his, has gone to Juventus, so that probably adds fuel to the fire where the rumours are concerned, people. So, yeah, I don't think we can afford to do that. Fulham are ready to make move to sign 15 million Arsenal players currently at the Euros. So, yeah, Fulham have been linked with Tierney. I'm sorry, and I know he's got 2 years left on his deal, and the club probably want to move on from him, but come on, man, 15 million to a Premier League rival as well, especially if Robertson leaves for pastures new, been linked with City and Liverpool. They're probably going to get some decent money. Come on, man. If Tierney was at Fulham, you know we're not getting, and the same context is with there, we're not getting him for that, are we, people? So we'll have to see in that regards. But I think the club just want to move on. It's a shame because he's got 2 years left on his deal. Speaking of left backs, I mean, you know what? Bradley Locko is quite decent, and at 22 years of age, there's longevity, but it's easy to link Arsenal with left backs because we've heard that Arteta allegedly wants that. But Arsenal plan to recruit a new left back this summer, and you know this publication understands that the club are now considering a move for Bradley Locko, and he's been linked with a couple of clubs. Not sure he's the strongest 1v1, but decent engine on him for what it's worth. Ben Jacobs has said, again, I don't know who's credible and who's not, but they want a young left back like Joel Hato. He's a centre half. It could be a centre back that can play left back. Milos Kerkez is another name they've looked at. Arsenal and Chelsea are quite serious about him, even though Bournemouth don't want to sell. I'm actually waiting on a thumbnail. I'm in the process. Actually, before I went live, I'm in the process of doing a tactical video for you guys with him because I think the way, is it Areola? Iota, I can't pronounce the Bournemouth manager's name, but he's almost from the same school of thought as Mikel Arteta, the way you look at them tactically. And I think he could be a good fit. But again, these guys, when they rock up in the Prem, because of the game now, obviously, there's the food chain. We can take players of Bournemouth with the greatest of respect. But once these players rock up at these clubs, it's abnormal fees. So I'm not really sure. And Chelsea, you know, Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester United have been aggressively linked with him. They don't want to sell him clearly, but we'll have to see. We've gone over that with Mr. Vlahovic. Fofana, apparently we could have a free hit at him. Apparently PSG are not really that interested in the individual people, so that could be a spring in our step. But again, we don't know what's going on. Fofana expected to leave AS Monaco, but currently not on PSG shortlist. PSG are looking at a different kind of player in that position based on Luis Enrique's request. Premier League clubs keep monitoring him. Was linked with Nottingham Forest and a couple of other clubs in the Prem last year, so who knows. Arsenal are completing formal documents for David Raya's permanent move to Brentford, probably the worst kept secret of the summer. St Johnstone defender Callum Hamill, never seen him. Apparently he'll visit Arsenal's academy and train with the club later this month. Arsenal are keen on the highly rated 15-year-old Hamill, but St Johnstone want him to sign professional forms next year. Come to the carpet, man. Come to the carpet. I mean, don't listen to Kieran Tierney, but I don't know what position you play, but we've got another flying Scotsman in it. If that is the case, once again, Arsenal were allegedly on the 10th of June. It's now the 12th, so things have changed. I'm not willing to wait for Benjamin Sesko. Club was presented with an opportunity to sign Osimhen and now may consider other options if negotiations for Sesko are protracted, which we saw did not work. And then a follow-up one, and again, I don't know if these ITKs know or don't know, Arsenal refrained from activating Sesko's release clause without his consent. Well, I mean, the player didn't want to make the move. Sesko intends to stay at Leipzig for another year to develop, but if he would have left, Arsenal would have been his preferred destination. I mean, he didn't want to leave, innit? So really and truly, it's a myth. Arsenal will now consider other options after Sesko's decision. I mean, Riley, are we forgetting that Harry Kane missed a sitter against Iceland? Ben Jacobs has spoken on Zubimendi, and I like Zubimendi, but personally, I'm tired of it now, man. Like 1 minute you're on it, then you're not on it, then you're on it, then you're not on it. Zubimendi is still a realistic possibility for Arsenal midfield, though the challenge there is persuading him to leave Sociedad. I mean, you have to have an element of persuading players, but I do think one thing that has been consistent with Arsenal, or specifically Mikel Arteta, or what we're led to believe, if we present something and you're moving iffy and you're having second thoughts, of course, you've got to give them time to consider. We move on. Like, clearly, Sesko, you weren't on it. Move on. Vlahovic, move on. Zubimendi, he's probably got his own ideas. I would love him at the club, but I don't think it's a thing now. He's very happy there, and that's why he stayed at the club in January, though that was also with Champions League football to look forward to in the second half of the season. And now it will be about persuading the player to leave a club that he's really settled at. So I think that's his case file done, if I'm honest. We've gone over Destiny Doue there. What is this about? Juventus are trying to hijack Milan's move for Joshua Zirkzee, so he could be reignited with Thiago Motta. I mean, Arsenal and United's names are still being name dropped, people. But it says here, if Zirkzee does join, Vlahovic could become a sellable asset. So rumours of Vlahovic are not going away. We're going back to the days of Daily Dusan soon. Once again, Kirill is still being linked with clubs, and I've said it already, but he's linked with Juventus. We've gone over Joshua Zirkzee. What's this? Let me see everything that's said here, people. Wow. We've gone over Kirill. Tini's asking price has gone up by 5 million from yesterday to now 15. Sesko signed a new deal, as we know. I did cover this in the last vid, but Lunin apparently is an option for Arsenal. Apparently his relationship with Carlo Ancelotti is rather cold. Respectfully, though, you know, David Raya is about to be signed. Aaron Ramsey hasn't gone anywhere. Does it make sense? If you genuinely feel you can take Raya's spot, or Mikel Arteta believes that, fair enough. Doesn't really make sense. Probably the fact that we need a keeper. Gabriel Jesus could be available. We've gone over that as well. We've gone over Bradley Locko and Kirkes as well. So we're on the ball, people. Silly season, though. Arsenal have been linked with Cole Palmer for 80 million quid. Would love to sign Cole Palmer, but this is what I mean. Like, some journalists and Mr. Keith Morrow, you're not even trying. Like, you're not even trying, really. Like, come on, really? All these journalists just hear a sniff, then write a story. There you have it. Zubimendi clearly rejected us. A wing I'd love us to go back in for is Rafinha. Nah, he was doing his thing at a point, but I'm not on that, man. Best place to keep up with the news. Appreciate that. I'm just talking. I am not the guy for news. I'm just going over these rumors with you lot because we ain't got nothing else. Matson's a good player. I mean, he had a cup final to forget, Champions League cup final to forget. But yeah, most of these journalists are waffling, man. 100%. Like, they're all just remixing the same things. Like, even me, like, we're sitting here and talking daily about transfer news. You know how bored I'm getting? Like, if it's not Zirkzee, it was Sesko, it was this guy. Like, I want them to jazz things up a bit. Just lie to me and say Mbappe visited Arsenal's training ground. Rah, the Fulham fans must be amazed with how many players of ours they're linked with. Nketiah, Smith Rowe, and now Tierney. Kirill is quite a good passer. You know, I'm just not a good left back. I think his passing is good, but purely in comparison to his teammates at Arsenal, I think it's not in a bad way. I just think he's quite standard. I like Kirill, but quite standard, really, if I'm honest with you. Like, I don't think his passing is anywhere near Gabriel's. I think Timber's better in that regards. I think Tomiyasu, maybe a bit Tomiyasu, but I think Tomiyasu's more confident. I don't know, man, because I've seen Tomiyasu hit some great diags. I don't think he's better than Benjamin White at that. So, yeah, man. Most of the fan favourites from the last 2 seasons are leaving. It's got to be done, man. Cole, Clichy, Lauren, now Zinni, big drop off. Clichy was lit at left back. We need better there. Lit? Clichy? He was all right. We need a wavy French player. Crystal Palace have him on the wings right now. I have no doubts he'd take us over Chelsea and United. I hear that. Is there a young player Chelsea don't want? Probably not. Who is your Mikel Arteta replacement? I don't want Arteta to go anywhere, but if he got up and left tomorrow, then I kind of like these new age kind of Spanish managers. So Xavi Alonso, let's do this, innit? What is your dream signings in this window for players? I mean, absolute dream. So you said dream, so it doesn't have to be realistic. Kylian Mbappe, Vinicius Junior, like Bruno Gomes, Isaac. But well, I would have loved Hato and Sesko. Them ones are off the table, so I'll make it more difficult for myself. Coop Miners could be going Juventus. I'd love to revisit. I'd love Elise. Elise could go with that. I'd love to revisit Pedro Neto. I'd love to see exactly what Zubimendi is thinking, if I'm completely honest. Bakayoko from PSV could be a good project for Mikel Arteta. Yeah. I'll go with them. So what would you do with the squad and the management if you own the Gunners? Well, I mean, I would instruct Edu to get the players gone that Arteta, you know, doesn't have a use for. And I'd bring in, like, it's easy for me to say, but I'd give the money to go and get that striker, that centre mid, that left back, or whatever Mikel Arteta needs to cross over that line now, really and truly. If I'm honest, David Silva, Arteta replacement. I don't know if David Silva's got doing anything in relation to management, if I'm honest. I like Ryan a lot, man. Video coming out on him, just waiting on a thumbnail. Don't want to spoil it for you lot, man. Turn on your notification bells. 4 realistic players to sign: defender, midfielder, winger, striker. But what is realistic though? Like, what is realistic? All right, Fofana, Monaco's Fofana. Doue from Rennes. Just give them what they want for him. I don't think Elise is realistic, but I mean, if based on it in theory being affordable, I'd see what we could do for Pedro Neto and Elise. Really, DG, would you give Patino a chance? Would you sign Adam Walton? If I could sign Adam Walton, I would, but it's just going to cost something stupid now, isn't it? Really and truly, I would love for Charlie to get a chance, but the reality is now we're probably going to bring in a centre mid. We don't know if Partey is going to stay, but you've got Partey, you've got Jorginho, Fabio Vieira and Smith Rowe can also be utilised there. They're probably going to play there ahead of you, so it probably is best for him to move on. Sign Smith Rowe up to a contract that restricts him from leaving until he retires. Who is your top pick for the striker position? Neil, we can't get Mr. Sesko now, innit? So if it was plan B, again, if money wasn't a thing and realistic wasn't a thing, is that come to the carpet really and truly? But I wouldn't be against Joshua Zirkzee. I wouldn't be against Ivan Toney in theory. I wouldn't push for it. I must admit, as much as I want a striker, I'm starting to move into that realm of forget it then, innit? Like if we can't find a wavy one, we might as well just address all the other areas. Arteta has a plan for the window. He clearly knows what he's missing in the starting 11 and squad. Amen. Can't really say what's realistic and what isn't at this point. Targets changing every week in every positions. For me, I just judge it on, you know, where we're linked with Isaac and Gomar. I mean, to be fair, once upon a time, if you told me we're signing Declan Rice, I would have said you're smoking something very special. So you are right in that regards, and for different reasons, Kai Havertz. But I just think for me anyways, once you start crossing into the Isaacs and, you know, the Gomareses and Frankie de Jongs and all of them, like anything can happen. But we all know Osimhen, even to a degree, Osimhen be lovely. Once you're starting to get into those kind of players that are in and around the 100 million bracket, there's a degree of pessimism, I guess I'm getting at for me. Unpopular opinion, Watkins for me. I wouldn't be against Watkins. I think he fits the system. I think he's English. He's Premier League proven, all of that stuff. But Aston Villa in the Champions League. He's probably he's in the Euro squad. They're in the Champions League. He's under contract for a long time. They're going to ask for a lot of money. Oi, so, you know, bull. Bring that Rio you. But again, apparently Bayern Munich are sniffing around him. Bayern Munich are peeing off Arsenal and Chelsea. If they get that Rio you, who did well in the Futures Cup, if I can remember correctly, and doing well for Chelsea, 15-year-old, and they get Cheeto, boy, they're laughing, man. They're absolutely laughing. How do you feel about Amari Hutchinson's situation? I feel like he's on a good path. One day, everything will become available to everybody, and everyone might change their opinions on such. What I would say is there's 3 sides to every story. There's Amari's, there's Arsenal's, and then there's the truth. I mean, whatever people have to say, you know, people can laugh at Amari and say, oh, you're not playing for Chelsea, you left. Probably got a fat contract, so money's important. Obviously, there's been a path. Everybody's a winner from that. Either way, we can't guarantee if Amari stayed at Arsenal that there would have been a specific loan that would have banged for him. We can't guarantee he would have played at Arsenal. Either way, he's gone. He's made his debut at Chelsea, which didn't officially play for Arsenal. Went to Ipswich, helped them got promoted. Either goes on loan there again, or, you know, Ajax and all of these teams have been interested in him. Is he a better player now than what he was when he left Arsenal? Undoubtedly, yes. He's announced himself to a degree in the footballing world. Frimpong, I like Frimpong, assuming you're talking about the Leverkusen lad. Not convinced defensively, so I think that's a myth. Drewsbury Hall's likeable, but I don't imagine he's going to leave Leicester. Gomares would be lit. Xavi Simons would be great. And I would definitely not be against Ollie Watkins, man. But it comes down to the funds, man, really and truly, if I'm completely honest. But yeah, the Rafinha thing, I'm not... Listen, I'd support it, but... Big up DG, saying, broski, how's the off-season treating you? Same old, man, we're working. You're not seeing the tactical vids coming out. You're not seeing, you know, Euros is coming up on Friday. We'll be doing watch-alongs and whatnot. So we're lit, man. I do think we need another chance create on the left. So do I. So when Odegaard's locked up, free of him, we can still progress the ball. But that means Rice is a DM, but we're going to lose some central progression. I mean, Arteta's just got to figure it out, really, man. 4-3-3, Raya, Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Frimpong, Rice, Gomares, Verts would be lovely, but you're asking big money, man. Big money. And is he going to leave necessarily? DG, you think next year will be Ethan's year? I think we've got to have patience, but I'd be surprised, especially if we don't sign every position we'd love. I'd be surprised if Ethan doesn't get some sort of first team football. And, you know, I think Ethan's going to end up as a 10 or an 8. You know, one day we might look at Ethan to play in that left 8 channel or that number 10 role where Odegaard is, or together and whatnot. But I think in the short term, he could actually help us as a winger, really. You know, Arsene Wenger used to, these centre mids, you always used to come through at under Arsene Wenger, with the exception of a couple, and they would play out wide to kind of learn stuff. Works would be good, but yeah, man. Would you start Eze on Friday versus Serbia? I can't lie, I would. It's difficult for me to answer, but England, my starting 11 for England. I'm not convinced over the centre half pairings. I'm not really convinced that left back. Pickford in goal, John Stones, Kyle Walker. You might have to pray, depending on Luke Shaw's fitness, you might just have to put Trippier over there. You know what? Stones, Gurhey, Kyle Walker at right back. Left back, you might have to put Trippier there if Shaw's not fit. Midfield. England are going to miss Marcus Rashford, you know. Midfield, obviously Declan Rice. I'm playing Jude Bellingham. Bukayo Saka on the right. Harry Kane obviously up front. On the left, Phil Foden. On the left, Phil Foden in the pockets. Get in the pockets. And then there's obviously I've missed out on midfield role. This is where it starts to get a bit political, because do you go with another one in the engine room? Do you go with Kobe Mainoo? Do you go with Wharton, untested at this level? Do you put Cole Palmer in the 10? Bit like Foden, not really played like that while they've been in the first team. Can't really experiment. So you are right. You could go with Eze. You know what? Yeah, man. You know what? Eze. F it, Eze. Eze and Foden, you lot are smart. Carlo Ancelotti, you lot rotate in and out, man. Yeah, you don't make a kid the youngest player in the Prem and not play him soon. You are right. If we sign Doue, don't you think it would block Ethan a bit? I mean, naturally that's going to happen, but I think they're going to be two very different players. Like I see Doue long term as a Paul Pogba, Diaby-esque central midfielder. We're linked with Palmer, even though it's highly unlikely. Imagine the havoc he could have for us. It'd be lovely, but that's a man that we should have bought from City. If I see Gallagher, that's what I think he's going to go for. He's going to dash in a Gallagher in the engine room. DG, what do you think about all of this academy players leaving? Waters, Sosa, and now Cheeto. It's going to happen to all Premier League clubs. I do think where Waters is concerned, a bit like Coach Dewberry, we shouldn't be in this scenario where contracts are running down. I think we've shot ourselves in the foot. Cheeto, at the end of the day, if Bayern are offering you a project, go and do what you're doing, innit? Lino Sosa, I think he was a good player. I wasn't really convinced you're going to make it at left back anyways. You know, admittedly, to be fair with you, I think Max Dolman, he's 14, turning 15. Let's be a bit easy, but him and Ethan be the ones I bet my hat on. I think Coles Ajubi could do a thing. I think Miles could do a thing. But yeah, we do need to sell well this summer. Rise up the lights, big up Stylish. Now available best striker option for Arsenal, Gyökeres and Jimenez. Feyenoord midfield is doing a better option for Arsenal. Also Zubimendi. Arsenal must sign an attacking mentality left back. I hear that. Can our youth teams become different entities? Hayland is failing. I wouldn't say Hayland's failing. We've got to look at our first team, the amount of players that are in and around. But I do think we could do better in selling, retaining talent, and essentially, I hate to refer to footballers like this, but asset management, if I'm honest with you. If I'm completely honest, who's winning tonight, America or Brazil? Brazil, man. Why did the German police say that a hooligan group of 500 will attack the England fans? I have no clue. He'll put Foden on the left, as I don't see any way Foden doesn't get in. He can't just put him in over Saka or Bellingham either. But obviously, it's not a true winger. I would want Foden to invert. I mean, the Eze shout's lit, but I think whoever said Gallagher, I think you're bang on the money. I think Mikel Arteta. I think Gareth Southgate is more likely to revert to type, and he's going to have more. He more wants Declan Rice. He's more likely to have a Declan Rice, or Adam Walton, or Conor Gallagher than you are to see Kobe Mainoo and all these things. I just think he will bet on the engine room. And with Mainoo, it's a lot, man. It's nothing to do with Mainoo. I think there's just too many unanswered questions. I think Harry Maguire is a big loss for England. He was a threat from set pieces, and you know, European international football is more or less like Champions League with Real Madrid. It's just decided by moments 9 times out of 10. I'm not convinced over left back. To be fair, Trent could play in midfield, but defensively you're exposed. Not convinced that left back options. Not convinced with the centre back pairings. Too many unanswered questions in midfield, and it's a lot to place on the shoulders of Kobe Mainoo, etc., etc. Take nothing away from some of the players that have been called up, but I don't think the balance is there really. I think there's too many unanswered questions. I think form. I don't think. I keep saying Arteta. I keep thinking. I personally think Southgate has not found that balance of picking players in form. There's many players that they're formed, they deserve to be there. Several of them, and the players that regardless of their form, they can do a thing. I don't think the balance is there. I don't think England are doing anything serious, man. You think it's a good idea going into this tournament with a rather young squad? Experience can be overrated, but it can't be overstated. So, yeah, I think the balance isn't there. But, yeah, Dunk as well. I'm a big fan of Dunk, but international football, he's been on a joke thing. Braithwaite could have been in the squad. Would you get Lee Gunner on your channel or Turkish? Yeah, why not? Big up Tyrese John Jules. That man stays fit. He's doing his thing. I stand by that. And I've never said a player is our next best big thing though, but big up John Jules. I stand by that. He's been done very dirty with injuries, and if you go and look at the first vid I did, I'm pretty sure I said him, Eddie, and Ketty or Balogun. We should be training them to be £20 million players. Eddie's going for 30. Balogun's went for something. Injuries have got at John Jules. You can't be right all the time, but my success rate is still lit. I know you're not trying to slander the guy. We do need to sell well this summer, if I haven't said that already, people. So, yeah, man. Big up you lot, though, people. Let me get a last question in before I keep it moving, because I do want to finish this edit for you lot, people. Rice, Jude, but who's the third member in that midfield? And kind of answered that. I don't know, man. Do you go with Eze? Does he go with Gallagher? I think he will bet on Gallagher. I don't think he's gonna bet on Kobe Mainoo. I don't think he's going to. And to be fair, there's a lack of experience in that England squad. That's why I think that they haven't got the balance, essentially. Palmer, I don't think, a bit like when Southgate is asked about Foden and he said he's a winger. He's a winger. He doesn't play midfield for City. If he's saying that about him, he might say that about Palmer. Trent could be there. No, I'm joking, man. I'm joking, Kagi, man. Trent is lit as well, but then you're exposed. If Trent plays in midfield, then I think you're going to see something probably. Well, to be fair, you'd see Bellingham, Rice, and Trent. But assuming there was no Bellingham, then you're going to see a Gallagher or something. I think he wants the engine room. Southgate is not an attack-minded coach. To be honest, Kyle Walker's even an option for left back and centre half. But it's again, I wouldn't want to do all of that. These are the questions that need to be answered going into a European tournament. This is why I don't think England are going to do serious things. I hope I'm wrong. I want to see Saka go all the way. To be fair, Benjamin White. It's a shame that him and Southgate don't see eye to eye, man, because Benjamin White should be there in some degree, man. If you haven't smashed the like button, make sure you're doing such. Proper last question. DG, do you think Arteta didn't give game time to Haaland guys and Ketia, Smith Rowe and Nelson on purpose to signalise to them they're not part of the plans? Maybe it was a decision above Arteta. It could potentially be, conspiracy theorists and that. But at the end of the day, I just think the cold-hearted truth is they're all good, valued squad members. But in a team that was challenging for the league title, you weren't useful like that. You weren't. Simple as that, really. Like, for me anyways, like, you're not useful like that. How many times at City when they've won league title? Like, Grealish is a forgotten man this year, really. The year before, he was playing week in, week out. It's be useful or be useless. And unfortunately, it's not what you've done, it's what you're doing. So maybe there are defo cases of that in football and political decisions, but I just think you lot were not in the strongest team for Arsenal last season. For the vast majority of it, was performing well. The players that were playing were not, were hanging on to their first team shirts. It is what it is in that regard. Bowen for Nelson and Eddie would do. I mean, West Ham be smoking something special to get ripped off like that, man, if I'm honest with you. There was never an excuse for Arteta not running up more minutes for Smith Rowe, man. I can't lie. I would have loved to have seen it. Madison in the 10, he's playing darts in the pub. He's not rolling. He's not rolling, man. But yeah, people, man, big up you lot for your talking points, your questions, etc., etc. Big up the Twitch gang. If you have smashed the like button, make sure you're doing such. Again, check out the rest of the content. Turn your notification bells on because pre-season, mid-season videos are always going to come out. I actually need to put a couple of other thumbnails and some other videos. I've actually got a video coming out where I kind of try to have a bit of fun and share my unpopular opinions at Arsenal or my uncomfortable truths, especially in relation to the transfer market. So I don't want to spam you lot, so maybe I'll release that one day on Friday, doing a Sancho vid as well. And any other emerging news, you can rest assured that we're either going to go live or we're going to do other things. And with the Euros coming up, hey, the work rate is going like that, people, man. Rapido, tranquillo, and all them things there. But yeah, people, I mean, we've been speaking about England's left backs. I think I should have got the call up on the plane.
Against this right back, Charlie.
Like